Welcome back to Real Life Advice by Tammy B. I'm Tammy. What I have this episode is rather humorous. It's of my childhood. I was, I'm going to say probably 8, 9. And what we did every day, my brother and I had an older brother, he's about 4 years older than me. We, along with several of the kids in our neighborhood, would walk down to the Catholic pond on a daily basis in the afternoon and go fishing. And like little sisters often are, I was somewhat of a pain for my brother. And I was hanging out with the older kids, and they didn't want me hanging out there, and they were kind of shooing me away. So I went, and there was ducks at this pond, and it was kind of, it was in the center of town. I had fished, and I had kind of finished fishing. I was chasing some ducks around, and I was standing behind a group of kids that we knew, but they weren't really with us that day. And anyway, I guess they didn't realize I was back there. And this girl, she was probably about 5 years older than me. She cast back her fishing pole, and I was behind her. And it hooked in my head. Right here. And I've always had really thick hair, and I had my hair in a ponytail. One big giant ponytail. And this girl, she thought she had the fish hook caught in the tree because I was standing under a tree. And she kept pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And I kept screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming. So we knew that we had to go to the priest house. And back then there was no cell phones or anything. So my mom was she was gone shopping with her parents out of town. And so as the kids around found out that there was a fish hook in my head, everybody scattered and went home. They were freaking out. They were scared. They thought, oh, this priest, he was kind of known to be, he could get a little angry. And so my brother cuts the line, and everybody, like I said, everybody disappears. The girl that did it went home. There was probably 10 kids down there fishing that day, and they all scattered. So we had to make the dreaded walk to the priest house. We go and knock on the door, and he comes out, and I have this fish hook in my head, and he was like, we told him, and could he call our dad to come get us, because my dad was at work. And as many had already tried, everybody thought it could come right out because it had really thick hair, and so they were wiggling it. And I was like, no, man, it's in there. And I'd scream as, 8, 9-year-old would. It hurt. And it was a pretty big fish hook, too. So the priest immediately went and grabbed the fish hook in my head and tried to pull it out. And, of course, he could not get it out because it was stuck in my scalp pretty deep. So he called my dad, and my dad came down and picked my brother and I up, and then he didn't really know what to do with me, so he decided to take me to the emergency room. So we walk into the emergency room in this little town we lived in. Walk in, and immediately the people behind the desk are like, my dad's like, this is my daughter, she's got a fish hook in her head, giving him all the information. And the nurse immediately comes around and tries to pull it out, and I'm like screaming. And my dad didn't like that because that, I was a little kid showing him that I was hurt. And he was like, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. And I thought, well, you get a fish hook in your head and see what you do. So anyway, as one did, you had to wait quite a while in the emergency room because there were other people there, and fish hook in your head didn't take center stage. So as we wait, my mother came in. She had got news, and she came up, and she too went immediately to my head, wiggling this fish hook. And I was like, ah! Screaming, screaming, screaming. And my mom's like, no, listen to me. And there was, so I would say 5 to 8 people touched my head throughout this whole incident trying to get that fish hook out. And not one of them bothered to take the worm off the hook. I still had the worm. It was all dried up by then. So, real life advice by Tammy B. I think it's pretty much a given. What the advice is, don't stand behind people that are casting fishing poles. And for goodness sake, if you do get a fish hook in your head, make sure you take the worm off. That's kind of gross. So, again, real life advice, Tammy B. I hope you enjoyed.